चहा पिताय एक मिनिट
चालू बिलूला ना केलंस
केलाय तर
Mahadeva, is the audio video okay? Can you people hear me clearly and see? Can somebody kindly reply? Okay, let us start. We will start with the prayer of invocation. Om. Om Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Satatam Purnaya Bodhatmane Yasya Nishvasitam Veda Yo Vedebhyo Khilam Jagat Nirmameham Nirmameham Nirmametamaham Vande Vidyatirthamaheshwaram. So in the third chapter of Jivan Mukti Vivek, in which the central theme of discussion is dissolution of mind. Because even after the knowledge has taken place, in which the duality is falsified, yet the experience of false duality also can be a source of misery. So, when a person wakes up from a dream, whether it is an unpleasant dream or a pleasant dream, having woken up from the dream, the dream is falsified. But the experience, there is an experience of that what is false. And having woken up and recognized that it is false, yet it was false, but it was good or it was bad, is something that still remains back with the person. Just as that, in wake of this knowledge that Atma is Brahman, and this entire world of all names and forms is only an appearance in this consciousness, falsifies the world of names and forms completely. Yet, the world which is false continues to be experienced. As a result, there are going to be pleasant and unpleasant experiences. Thus, an ordinary person who is submerged in ignorance, for him the experiences of the world are real. And for the one who has woken up, for the enlightened one, the world, whether is experienced as pleasant or unpleasant, is totally false. Yet this experience itself, wherein the false duality is experienced, is also something which is totally absent in Videha Mukti. And therefore, now there is a question as would it be possible to experience total absence of duality even whilst living? And it was said it may not be possible. But it also was told by the Shruti, Vimuktascha Vimuchyate. From this one particular statement of the Upanishad, we have our main idea that there is Jivan Mukti. It is possible. And how does it become possible? So, Sri Vidyaranya Swami says, the Tattvajnanam knowledge, Vasana Akshaya, and dissolution of mind, Manonasha, these are the three means for Jivan Mukti. Vasana Kshaya is required because the mind with its impressions will continue to function under its grooves. As is the mind habituated to respond, so it will continue. If the mind is habituated to respond in a way making the ego as the central figure, that mind will churn out only kleshas, afflictions. But when that center changes and the afflictions are now being neutralized by developing the divine virtues, now that mind becomes free. To that extent, it becomes free from the grip of these demonic qualities. Thus, that mind, though is a functional mind, yet is immensely peaceful, immensely joyful, content, enlightened. And that is what is told to us by the word Vasanakshaya. The other factor is Manonasha, dissolution of mind. As long as the mind is going to remain, till then the ego, in whichever form, even if the ego is there in the most harmless form, yet that presence of the ego is going to make the experience of duality possible. And with duality, there is bound to be bhayam. Dvitiyadvai bhayam bhavati. As long as the duality is seen, even if it is false, yet sometimes false things also can produce fear. Ah, you go to watch a film and you know that everything in this film is false. There is nothing there on the screen. It is just a screen and a light. And yet after watching that film, there is fear when the villain enters. There is a fear. There is no entry of a villain and there is no entry of a hero. Nobody comes and nobody goes. It is just light playing on the screen. And still one feels good and bad about it. So therefore, let this mind itself shut down. Let it become still. So this stillness of the mind is one kind of transformation. Parinama, vritti rupa parinama parityagena, by giving up the modification of transforming into thoughts. The mind modifies into a form wherein the mind does not transform into the thoughts. Niruddhata karena parinamaha manonashaha. Having said that much, now we will proceed. So these are the three things which are required for Jivan Mukti. The knowledge, Tattvajnanam, Vasanakshaya, and Manonasha. So we are looking at Manonasha. This Manonasha comes through the practice of Samadhi. And therefore now we are being led into the topic of meditation through this chapter. This is what we are going to see. And therefore for every seeker, the practice of meditation, the practice of Samadhi is mandatory. It should be there. But most of us do not understand what does it mean and how do we progress on the path of meditation. For those seekers now, this chapter is immensely helpful. On page number 201, Vasishthopi aha. Bhagavan Ramachandra's guru is sage Vasishtha. And Vidyaranya Swami in this book has drawn heavily from Yoga Vasishtha. Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana is one Ramayana in which we come across the instructions and teachings given by sage Vasishtha to Rama. So now sage Vasishtha speaks and he says, Asya samsara vrikshasya sarvopadravadayinaha upaya eka evasti manasaha swasya nigraha. Asya samsara vrikshasya. This tree of samsara, of misery. And which tree of misery are you talking about? Is it something that is kept in heaven or hell or somewhere else? No. Asya, which means this very, which is immediate, which is immediately, directly experienced by you and me. Asya, which is immediate. Asya samsara vrikshasya. So this very samsara, this very world, this very life is called as vriksha, is called as a tree. But why are you referring to it as a tree? We will tell you. And how is this tree of samsara? Sarva upadravadayinaha. From it arises every and all miseries. Sometimes when you talk about a tree, the tree is an entity which gives fruits and flowers and cool breeze, and if nothing else, at least some shade from the sun. There is some relief, there is some respite from the burning heat of the sun for a traveler under a tree. But this tree has got only one thing to offer, and that is miseries in different forms. The fruits is misery, the flower is misery, the leaves are misery, the twigs are misery, the branches are misery, the roots are misery. It has got nothing else to offer but misery. And therefore this samsara vriksha sarva upadravadayinaha. It can give only upadrava. Upadrava means misery, trouble. Upadravadayinaha. And therefore it is necessary to fell the tree, to cut this tree. Upaya eva eka eva asti. But there is one remedy. There is one way, there is only one way to overcome this tree. And what is that? Manasaha swasya nigraha. Hey, you see, now you are going to say the world is outside, and there's some ramification, rectification needs to be done in the world outside. This is samsara. But Vasishtha says, there is only one way you can overcome this samsara vriksha. And that way is manasaha nigraha, by controlling, mastering, overcoming the mind. But samsara is outside, and you are talking about its the remedy lies in taking care of the mind. We thought that you are talking about this world, and this world needs to be rectified, fixed. How are you saying that he is? And that's why he will tell you furthermore that why are we saying that though the world is experienced outside, yet the control keys are inside. Manasaha eva nigraha. Nigraha means control, mastery. Swasya manasaha eva nigraha. Remember this shloka. Furthermore, next shloka he says, Manaso bhyudayo nasho manonasho mahodayaha yamano nashamabhyeti manojyasya hi shrunkhalam. Manaso bhyudayo nasho. It is verily destruction, fall, when this mind expands and prospers. An expansion of the mind means expansion of duality. It will breed only duality. Manaso abhyudayaha nashaha. The abhyudaya is prosperity of the mind, is nashaha. Is what? Is destruction, is dangerous. Expansion of duality more and more is nothing but nashaha. And then mano, and dissolution of mind, manonashaha mahodayaha, is indeed the great rise. What is the great? Like udayaha, suryodayaha, chandrodayaha. Like when you say suryodaya means the sunrise. When you say chandrodaya means the moon rise. So the full moon is rising behind the clouds. The sun is rising from behind the mountains. So rise is there. And now when there is rise, there is light. Like that, Mahodaya, like Suryodaya, the word is Mahodaya. Udaya means rise, and Maha plus Udaya means Mahodaya, which means that it is indeed the great prosperity. When the mind prospers, which means the mind breeds more and more duality, that itself is nasha, is destruction, is dangerous. But when that mind dissolves, this is Maha Udaya, is the great prosperity. So this is why Yamano Nashamabhyeti, and that mind in which the knowledge has taken place. Now what happens to that mind? That mind starts dissolving, starts moving into the process of dissolution. Yamanaha nashamabhyeti. And ajnasya, what about the mind of an ignorant? Ajnasya manaha shrinkhala iti, is the chain, is the fetters, are the shackles which bind the person down. Further in 202. तावन्निशीथवेतालाः वल्गन्तीर्दिवासनाः एकतत्त्वदृढाभ्यासान् यावन्न विजितं मनः तावन्निशीथवेतालाः. The ghosts will continue to scream, make horrible sounds. Vetalaha, Valganti, they will keep on screaming. Valganti, Hridivasana. And what is that screaming of those ghosts at night? Is nothing but the various desires which keep on throbbing in the heart. Hridivasanaha, in the hridaya, in the heart, the vasanas valganti, as long as they keep on chattering, making sounds. But what happens? And how long will how long will I be harassed, tortured by these ghosts? Tavat. So now that avadhi is being drawn, the limit is drawn. How long are you going to be tortured by these ghosts? So it is said, Ekatattva dridhabhyasan yavan vishitam manaha. As long as one is not able to master the mind, yavan vijitam manaha, as long as that mind is not conquered, as long as that mind is not conquered, mastered, till then. And how does one overcome and the mind? Ekatattva dridhabhyasan, by practicing, by giving oneself in contemplation, meditation on what? Ekatattva, on that one principle, one reality. As long as the mind is not overcome through the meditation, and the mind is not dissolved in that one reality, in that one oneness over there, tavan na vijitam manaha nishitha vetalaha valganti. Till then one is bound to be tortured. To be tortured, you don't require some external, what do they call this, ghosts. Look into your own heart. You are being tossed, tormented, tortured, harassed by your own desires. You can't sleep, you can't talk properly, you can't make decisions. There is no peace. And it is this, that as long as those desires keep on dancing, till then, and there is no peace for the person. prakshina chitta darpasya nigrihitendriya dvishaha padminyaiva hemante kshiyante bhogavasana. Now that mind also, like, we had seen it in our childhood, where, some, the example that I am going to give you, some people may not like it, but it is not for the sake of example or anything else that I am telling you. There is a point to be made, and so you understand that point and leave the example. In my childhood, we used to, our summer vacations were spent in my native place where grandmother used to live. And that was a place which was a small little hamlet, because we had, that was a time when there was no electricity, also had not reached that place. So we used to watch their bullock carts and things, and everybody had bullock carts and things like that. So if a new bull had to be yoked to the cart, now that young bull is full of all strength, and do you think that he is going to allow himself just to be yoked to a cart because somebody is standing there with a cane? You stand there with a cane or stand with anything else. Now that bull is so powerful, is not going to allow him, and even if you yoke him, somehow tie him to the cart, he will sit down and not get up. Or he will start moving backwards and run uncontrollably, making that bullock cart fall and the wheels come out. So there was a particular word to that. In order to train that bullock, to train that bull to stay, how to stay yoked to the cart, and he has to match his pace with the other bull, which is there on the other side of the yoke. It was said, rug. There was this particular word there in Marathi, rug. So that he has to overcome that darpa, that arrogance. So also the mind now has got this arrogance that nothing can be my master. I will be the master of everything and everyone. So over here, prakshina chitta darpasya, the one for whom, in whom the mind of that person, what has happened? Prakshina, the arrogance of that mind has become weak. And as a result, prakshina chitta darpasya nigrihitendriya dvishaha. Also, he has control on all the indriyas, the karmendriyas and jnanendriyas. And how do they act? They act as your own foes, enemies. So, prakshina chitta darpasya nigrihitendriya dvishaha padminyaiva hemante, the bhogavasana, the desire to experience this pleasure and that pleasure, and those that prestige, and then that ego, and appeasement of ego, appeasement of senses is what is constantly demanded. And this bhogavasana, what will happen? Bhogavasana kshiyante, slowly diminishes. For whom does this diminish? It diminishes for a person who has overcome the arrogance of that mind, darpa, and also the one who has overcome the indriyas, the organs of action and so he who has control on the organs of action and perception, as well as the one whose mind has given up the arrogance and has become a humble servant over there. The bhogavasana, the desire, the raw desire to experience the pleasures of the senses and the pleasures of the ego, etc., will now go away, will get diminished, and will wither away. Like how? Like the lotuses in the dead winter. Padminyaiva hemante, like in the season of extreme winter, which is hemanta. What happens? Padmini, the lotuses, lilies in the pond, they wither away, they go away. It is only when it is sunny, bright, and warm, the lotuses will come back. But those lotuses, they wither away in the Hemant, in the season of 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 the months of winter. Kshiyante bhogavasana, like that the bhogavasana will get diminished. Furthermore, hastam hastena sampi dantair dantan vichurnaya cha anganyangai samakramya jaye dadau swakam manaha. Hastam hastena sampi. Sir, how does one overcome this mind, the arrogance of the mind? And how does one even overcome these indriyas whose what do they call, flicker, which are very, what do they call, flickering indriyas? How does one overcome that? Now he says, hastam hastena sampi. So Achyutray Modak in his commentary writes that there is Raudra Rasa in this particular shloka. Now, when one has to overcome enemy and win a battle, the person cannot now sit and sing romantic songs, but all he needs is that courage, a different mood, a mood not of enjoyment, a mood not of compassion, a mood not of it. There has to be the mood, the spirit should be that of courage and you know, so Raudra Rasa has to be there. So he brings it. How is it? Hastam hastena sampi, by rubbing both the hands together. How is it not going to be possible? I will make it. So when a person is desperate to do something and he is not able to, then he will start rubbing his hands together. Hastam hastena sampi dantai dantan vichurnya cha, and then rubbing, grinding the teeth together. Like that. Grinding dantaihi dantan vichurnya cha, grinding the teeth, the hands together, rubbing them. Anganyangai samakramya, and pushing the organs together. Okay. Now, if there are this, some heavy stone has to be rolled on the upside of the mountain. And then there are these people, these men, they have to push that log or a stone up on the mountain. Now they are going to put the shoulders together and then push it. Angani angaihi samakramya jayeda. With that same spirit of putting all the courage together. If you remember, there is one shloka, the Shanti mantra. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai. May we both, the teacher and the student, what are they doing? They are saying that we both will put our effort. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. We will both put our valorous effort together. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinav Dhitamastu. And may we both now adhitam, whatever we both have studied, understood, and the Tejasvi, may we become Tejasvi. May that thing become Tejasvi. Tejasvi means bright, brilliant, not dull. That understanding, whatever you have understood, that knowledge now, but when Sahaviryam Karavavahai, that is something. So that brilliance is what comes after one has put the viryam. Viryam means that valorous effort, a strong effort, not half-hearted, not just, oh, we are trying our level best. No, if it is not happening, which means that there is something better than best, and that is what we need to put. So, hastam hastena sampi, dantair dantan vichurnya. Oh, but so we are not able to meditate. Hey, this is the time. Now you put in more effort. How does it not happen? But samadhi is not meant for us in this life. We probably will be able to. If you can achieve it in next life, maybe you can achieve it in this life too. And if you are hopeless about doing it now, then maybe, whatever you are thinking is a distant dream. So therefore, hastam hastena sampi dantaihi dantan vichurnya cha anganyangai samakramya jaye dadau svakam manaha. This is how one should conquer his own mind. How does it not happen? How is it not possible for samadhi? Even if, but then we fall to sleep. Doesn't matter. Get up and get going again. We only fall. Then find out the reason. Why is that sleep there? Is it indigestion? Is it because of incomplete sleep? Is it because of a tedium in the body? Then find out the reason and then overcome it. There is no point in sitting back, crying, lamenting, complaining, fuming and fretting. Do something about it. And how? With all your effort, one must do. This is what sage Vasishtha says. Etavati dharani tale subhagaste sadhu chetasa purushaha purushakatha suchakanya najitaye chetasa svena. Etavati dharani tale subhagaha te. Those people are fortunate people. Who are fortunate? Sadhu chetasa purushaha. Those who have great enlightened mind. Those people, those men means men, women, everyone, okay? Sadhu chetasa purushaha etavati dharani tale. On this earth, those people are subhagaha, are fortunate. Purushakatha suchaganya, and these are the people who are worth mentioning, whose stories and whose life is worth mentioning. And what about rest of them? Rest of them have nothing else. They're just the same. They ate food, they grew, they bred, and they one day died. In between, they just fought with their brothers, neighbors, neighboring kingdoms, destroyed more people, troubled more people. That is all. This is their story. There was no end to their greed, and therefore they went about destroying more and more. It did happen when Alexander the Great marched in India, because this is the country from where he went back. He had this ambition of being called as Ekachhatra Samrat, of being called as the what do they call, Ekachhatra. The emperor, the singular monarch of this world. Okay. And when he came to India, as his forces were marching, maybe he was hungry somewhere, and going through the one of the villages, he saw an old lady and said, I'm hungry, I'm Alexander the Great, give me food. She said, wait, I will bring you food. She goes into her house, and she, in a basket, she brought something covered under the cloth. So when he thought that there must be some bread and let me eat. So he opened it, and he saw that she had kept some silver coins, some gold bangles. So he was annoyed, and he said, what have you brought? I had asked you to bring food. So she says, I thought this is food you did, you know, food you get in your own place too. But your hunger is for gold. And that's why I thought that if this is what satiates you, this is what should be given to you. Otherwise, food, don't you get your bread in your country? That you had to march to India, kill so many people on the way. Greed is endless. And the stories of money, greed, expansions of the empires, etc., is not inspiring to Sage Vasishtha. He says those people are lucky and worth mentioning and remembering in the history. Who are those people? Those who are not enslaved by the mind. Na jitaye chetasa svena. Those who are not enslaved by their own minds. These are the only people who are worth remembering. Hridaya bile krita kundalaha ulbana kalana visho mano bhujagaha yasyo pashanti magamat chandravaduditam tamavyayam vande. In the whole Hridaya Bile, Bila is not the English bill, okay? This means the hole in the ground or in the tree where the snakes live. That is called as bill. Hridaya Bile, in the cavity of the heart, is where the mind lives. So this is the location. So in that cavity of the heart, actually it is the serpent, a very dangerous, poisonous, venomous serpent called as this mind. Ulbanaha, ulbana kalana visho, whose visha, whose venom is extremely dangerous. Kritakundalaha is sitting coiled up over there in the hole of the heart. Mano bhujagaha yasyopashantim. And then that snake needs to be pacified, because this snake, this cobra, is perpetually angry and ready to strike. Yasyopashantim magamat. And how does that mind attain peace and is pacified? The pacification, the peace that it attains is like the rise of the full moon on a summer evening. Yasyopashanti magamad chandravad uditam. By the rise of that, tam avyayam vande, that which is imperishable, by whose rise this mind also becomes peaceful. Tam avyayam vande, to that imperishable principle I bow down one day. Aham vande. Chittam nabhi kilasyedam maya chakrasya sarvataha sthiyate chetada kramya tanna kinchit prabadhate. Okay. Chittam navikilasyedam. This great wheel of samsara, which keeps on turning and turning and turning and turning. Chittam, but what is the hub of this wheel? What is the nabhi? What is the hub of this wheel? And he says, Chittam, the mind is the hub. If the hub does not, it is the hub around which the wheel keeps on rotating. And if the hub is loose, the wheel, the spokes will fall apart. The wheel will not, there will be nothing like a wheel. So the spokes, the outer rim is held together by this hub, which is called as Rathanabhi, the Nabhi, the hub of that wheel. Chittam, and what is the Nabhi of this wheel? Chittam of the samsara is the mind. Chittam Nabhi kilasyedam Maya chakrasya sarvataha, of this wheel of Maya, of delusion. Sarvataha sthiyate chetada kramya, and it comes to a halt when when that mind is mastered from all the sides. Tanna kinchit prabhadhate, and then after this Maya chakra, this wheel of delusion does not affect you. That is where that is the reason why the mind needs to be mastered. And mastery of the mind over here means wherein that mind is absorbed and therefore is facing dissolution. Gaudapadacharyahi apyuktam. Bhagavan Gaudapada is the grand guru of Bhagavan Shankaracharya. He says, Manaso nigrahayatam abhayam sarvayoginam dukkakshaya prabodhascha apyakshaya shantirevacha. Look at that. By the manonigraha, through the mastery over the mind, what is achieved? What will I gain? Okay, there is a mastery, I am the master, and I am. It is not some sort of feather in the cap. It is not the achievement of the ego. But manasaha nigrahayat, because of this ayatam, because what comes with due to the mastery over this mind, what happens? Abhayam sarva yoginam, the spiritual seeker, this yogi will attain abhayam, will be free from all fears, all insecurities. Even as a spiritual seeker, he will have some different insecurities. People who lead a material life, they have a different insecurity. Somebody is ready to lose money but not lose some person whom they love, because going away of that person means insecurity to him. And there is some other fellow, for him, he is ready to sacrifice people but not money. For him, the meaning of security is different. His insecurity, but both of them are insecure. You see that. So there is, and therefore, even the spiritual person, because or the spiritual seeker, aspirant, becomes free from all forms of insecurities. Abhayam sarvayoginam, both the words are okay. Sarvayoginam abhayam, it gives, it bestows freedom from insecurity, from this fear to all the spiritual aspirants. What gives? The nigraha of the mind. Okay. And is that all? he says, no, there are more things which will come. Dukkha kshayaha. The second thing to happen is that the mind, the dukkham, the misery, even in the most unpleasant experiences, the misery will get diminished. Dukkha kshayaha prabodhascha. The third thing that will happen is he will attain knowledge, will be enlightened. And then apiyakshaya shantirevacha, and he attains peace. Yeah. What kind of peace? He says everlasting. Akshaya. Akshaya means which is imperishable, imperishable peace. So through the Manonigraha, what all things are attained? One is abhayam. Then second one is dukkhakshayaha. The third is prabodhaha, knowledge. And the fourth one is imperishable peace, immutable peace. And it all comes, this is only through one, and that is through the Manonigraha. And this is the reason why we are discussing Manonasha. Okay. But sir, the control over the mind or to mastery over the mastery over the mind is extremely difficult. And not only it is that I am saying, but somebody like Arjuna is also saying that mastery over the mind is very, very difficult. Where did you find that Arjuna says, admits that it is difficult? He brings a statement of Arjuna from Bhagavad Gita. What does Arjuna say? Yatva Arjunena uktam. But you may say that all these things can come through conquering, overcoming the mind. But Arjuna, someone like Arjuna, who is extremely skilled, who has led an extremely righteous life, whose devotion to the Lord is unquestionable, whose concentration of the mind is unparalleled. Now, even for a person of Arjuna's stature, also says that it is difficult. Then if it is difficult for Arjuna, that means it is impossible for somebody like me. And the implication is, if it is difficult for Arjuna, then it is impossible for somebody like me. And therefore, yattu, that tu is kintu. Yattu Arjunena uktam. This is what Arjuna has said. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramathi balavadridham tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. Hey Krishna, manaha chanchalam. This mind is extremely fickle. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna. Fickle, not pickle, okay? Fickle. Fickle means flickering, unstable. And its instability is, how is that instability? Extreme instability, like the shimmer on the water. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramathi balavadridham, and it has the capacity to churn the inside out. Pramathi mathanashilaha, pramathi balavat, and but then it may be like that. You wrestle with that mind and defeat it. Says balavat. That mind is stronger than all the efforts that I can put. Balavat dridham, and balavan, strong, and dridha means also dridha means what do they call, well-rooted, like that. Tasyaham nigraham manye, and therefore to overcome, to master, conquer something like the mind is dushkaram, is difficult. Okay, it may be difficult, but sir, how difficult do you think it is? Vayo rivasu dushkaram. Can you control the wind? Huh? Can you control the wind? There's some storm coming into your town. What can you do about it? You can flee from that place, but cannot stop it. Storm, wind, and therefore, vayo rivasudushkaram. It is very difficult. Iti tadvachanam. Now, this is what Arjuna says. And therefore, this whole topic that you are talking about is futile. This is the doubt. That because of Arjuna's statement like that, what Gaudapadacharya Bhagavan has said, that through the mastery over the mind, one will be able to overcome all the insecurities. Then one will be able to resolve all the dukkhas, all the miseries, dukkha kshaya. The third one is knowledge will take place, and akshaya shanti will take place. This is all okay, but when you have conquered the mind. Oh, and how difficult is it to conquer the mind? Is impossible. This is what the conclusion is of this Purva Paksha. And if this is the conclusion, that means all your discussion about it is futile. And the teacher is going to show now that the doubt which you have raised with in Arjuna's words are not applicable here. And how does that teacher show that? And that is why we require teachers to explain what is Shastra. Okay, this is not something given for us to speculate. It is meant for us to understand. All right, so let us see how does the teacher dispose or dispels this doubt and makes the whole discussion more meaningful and interesting. We will meet again tomorrow for this class. Same time. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanta Shanta Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Thank you.